I don't personally factor it in. I will say I don't think it's a positive, but it's not enough for me to stay on or off a side or just the spread. What is interesting about this venue change is that on the surface, it doesn't look like the line moved any. But if you dig deeper in it, the great thing about the WagerTalk free live odds screen is you can click on the line history, and you'll notice last week that Minnesota was only a 1-point favorite last Tuesday. The line went up to 2.5 by Thursday because I think people were front running it, knowing that a lot of sports books nowadays do not cancel the bets like they used to when there's a venue change. So when they relocated to Arizona on Thursday night, Friday morning, the line stayed the same. But this line would have only been 1.5 probably in LA. It's 2.5 now in Arizona. They played on Thursday night a couple months ago, of course. And on the short week, the Rams went outright as a 3-point home dog. About 70% of the fans in the stadium were Viking fans. So I'm not sure they're going to have much of a home field advantage. And I'll even make the argument, I think it would have been more of a distraction for LA to be at home still. I think this actually helps the Rams being in Arizona. They took their family with them, their pets. Everybody was allowed to come. They've been there for several days now. I don't think it'll be an issue. And I do think the Rams are a live dog in this game. You mentioned how the line is now 2, was 2.5, 2 in a lot of spots. We briefly saw a 3 on Saturday afternoon at DraftKings, and that's just one book, but it's a big book. But we're not seeing 3s anymore. And the Circa went to 2 this morning, which is another major book. I think the Rams make an excellent teaser. Teddy will be on later. I believe he did a segment last week, Prez, about not doing teasers in the NFL playoffs. But, man, I can't resist some of these teaser lines this week. The Rams tonight plus 8, 8.5, I think is solid. And then next weekend, of course, you'd have to tie it up with something. How about the Kansas City Chiefs at home in a basic straight-up win situation on the teaser against the overrated Texans? It was 7.5. It's now 8. You can get Kansas City down to 2. So a little bit of a two-teamer for you there. Rams teaser tonight, and you can tie them up with Kansas City -2. Even Detroit -2.5 next week as well on Saturday is available. Getting those rested number 1 seeds and straight-up win situations against somewhat phony Washington, Houston teams is pretty tempting as well.
And when I see a total in the mid-50s or higher, I tend to stack prop bets on touchdown scores, passing yards, receiving yards, rushing yards, what have you. And that strategy has paid dividends for years. It didn't work out last week with the Vikes in Detroit, despite Detroit's defensive injuries. But one outcome is not going to determine whether that strategy is effective or not. I will lecture about that. The Vikes' problems, Sam Darnold. It was the biggest game of his career, throws for 166 yards on 18 of 41 passing. That's just 44% completions. I expect Darnold to bounce back here in an indoor game at a neutral site. Let's face it, he can't play much worse at 44% completions. It appears to be a good spot. He finished 5th in the NFL in passing touchdowns with 35, 5th in passing yards with over 4,300 yards. And it's not like the Vikes can lean on their running game. They rank 19th in the NFL in rushing with 109 yards per game. The Rams also not very good at running the football. They rank 24th. And we got 2 teams that each rank in the top 10 in passing. I expect both these teams to get their points here. Darnold and the Vikings faced LA. They lost 30-20 earlier this season. Darnold threw for 240 yards on 18 of 25 passing and a pair of touchdowns. I like his passing touchdowns over 1.5. Now I got a better line on this. This has been bet up. It's probably too expensive now to bet as a standalone bet. So it's still good for your single game parlays. And if you want to do a split bet where you put 75% on your stake on over 1.5 touchdowns and 25% on over 2.5 plus money, that will bring down your cost average for that bet and hope he throws 3. In addition to that, I like Justin Jefferson to have a big game. As I said, I don't think Minnesota can come in here and attempt to run the ball. I haven't been that impressed with Aaron Jones. He's averaged 4.5 yards per carry. He's picked up over 1,000 yards, but he's only scored 5 touchdowns this season. His 4.5 yards per carry is a career low for him. And then backup Cam Akers, who has been performing a lot better lately, is suffering from an illness. He's listed as questionable, probably going to play, but probably not 100%. This Minnesota defense, they only allowed 17 points per game in their first 10 games, but in their last 7 games, they've allowed 23 points per game. The Rams defense, only 5 teams in the NFL gave up more passing touchdowns than this Rams team. Like I say, I expect to see points from both teams. And I'm also going to look at Jefferson over 90.5 receiving yards. So the two prop bets for this game, we got Darnold over 1.5 passing touchdowns and Jefferson over 90.5 receiving yards, Prez.
So I did free play videos for both of the semifinal games, as I always do, and didn't really like much in that Penn State game. Kind of leaned under, but I said I thought the total was a little low. I made it around 48. It was around 45, and it was been exactly 48 had they not had the late field goal to win. The Ohio State Notre Dame game, I also gave out the under as a free play in the video, but I like that one better because I made that total in the mid to high 40s, and it was 50. What was it, 53, I believe? It was over that key number of 51, and it did stay under rather easily. You had two of the best defenses in the country. The look-ahead line, Prez, they had bettable lines at FanDuel last week on all the possible matchups, and Ohio State was projected to be about a 9.5-point favorite in this game, and the total was going to be about 47, 48 at different books. When it opened, they opened at 9.5, right on spot. Now it's dropped down to 8.5, 8. So we have seen it come down. We're not going to get that key number of 10. Never really looked like we were going to. The total, though, opened around 46, and it's even now 45.5 in some spots. So my point is the total's been adjusted more than expected from the look-ahead line, and that, of course, is because both teams didn't show much offensively. They looked pretty good defensively in the last game. So I'm not sure there's a lot of value left with the under at this point, especially since these title games sometimes become a little weird in the second half especially. And if Notre Dame gets behind in this game, being a run-based offense, they could have some trouble catching up. So I'm starting to think maybe a better approach here is a first half under 23, or even getting a little more creative with the first quarter. Now, this line is really important. Right now, as you check the WagerTalk free live odds screen, you'll see that 10 under 30 is the consensus first quarter line. But there are some spots that have 9.5 over 20. Obviously, 10 is a very key number. You got to get 10 if you're playing that first quarter under. But you got to expect both teams to come out conservative. We see this a lot in the Super Bowl. A first quarter under in the Super Bowl was one of my favorite props for many years. And Notre Dame being a run-based offense can definitely kind of milk that clock early while the game is still close. Two of the best defenses in the country. Not a lot of value left with the under because they've adjusted it down, but that first quarter still sitting in that key number of 10 might be worth a look. So if you're looking to play something early rather than later, if you can lock in 10 under first quarter, that might be worth an advanced look this week.
Well, this is the Clippers' first game since those devastating wildfires in LA. And it's a real question. How should bettors expect them to react? It's a legit question. Should we expect the Clips, we're playing for our city right now? Or do we expect the Clips, hey, we're a little bit distracted. We've been dealing with significant off-court issues over the last 5 days. And that's a real question mark for tonight's game. How will the Clips react to the circumstances? And before I go on, I want to say, Lawrence, if you like this, give us a like. If you like this, give us a like. We appreciate it. Subscribe for more videos each and every day. And, of course, I want to let you know what's going on for me tonight. I'm in play on Rams and Vikings. I'm also in play with a single 4% NBA best bet for tonight, plus 140 units in the NBA, and off a nice right side winner yesterday with the Pacers, plus the points so you can keep it rolling this evening. But when it comes to this Clippers Heat matchup, look, the Clips are 1-4 straight up their last 5. They lost to the Spurs, Thunder, T-Wolves, Nuggets. Good teams, 3 of them very good teams. The last loss against Denver was largely non-competitive. 3 of the 5 losses, in fact, have come by 18 points or more. Kawhi missed that Nuggets game because his family was getting evacuated in L.A. So clearly off-court distractions. Now, the Clips have been good home favorites. 7-2 their last 9 in this role. Their defense has been good at home. But this is a big off-court distraction. That being said, it's also a home game after a tragedy. You expect McAfee. Saturday game versus Charlotte was postponed. They haven't played since last Wednesday. Kawhi Leonard's an interesting story here because everyone's like, Kawhi's back, the Clippers are there. Well, again, 1-4 in their last 5. Kawhi's quote, we're still easing me into the game. We're not on nobody's timetable. Anyone watching that wants me to score 20 or 30 points or be aggressive, we're not on anyone's time frame. We know what's ahead of us, and we have to keep building in the right direction. We treated my debut like it was a preseason game, and we'll keep moving the same way until I'm able to build up my minutes. Again, Kawhi sat the last game, so it's certainly a scenario in which I'm not expecting mid-season Kawhi Leonard for the Clips this evening, which makes me a little bit reluctant to lay this price. So Miami was in a world of hurt. All right. Jimmy Butler was suspended. They got blown out at home by Utah. Then they opened this road trip. They blew a 17-point fourth quarter lead and lost in double overtime at Sacramento. They scored 7 points the last 8 minutes of regulation in that ballgame. And the markets kind of crashed on Miami. And what's happened since that time? Well, they've peeled off road victories at Golden State, at Utah, at Portland, 3 in a row. Eric Spoelstra, quote, you go on the road, you have to have your defense travel. Things happen during the course of a long season. We just have to recalibrate and get back to our defensive identity. And that's exactly what they've done over the last 3 days. So Miami, sans Butler, they're focused on defense. Clips, this is not an offense that's in midseason form right now. They're out of sync. So we're seeing this total 215, even 215 and a half out there. That's too high for this better, under the clear choice for me. So again, if you agree, disagree, let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching WagerTalk TV. Lauren?
I'm on a 14-3 run in the NHL. I have a client play up for my clients over at WagerTalk. You can get that play there. But I also love this play, and that is the under in the Philadelphia, Florida game. I'm just going to tell you guys, I'm going to be looking to play Philadelphia under moving forward. We played them on Saturday, our last bet in hockey. We played under 6, and it pushed. It was 6-0 for Philly over Anaheim, so we did not win that game. But this Philadelphia team, this is a team that played to the over for the entire first 2 months of the season. I mean, it was every game, goal scoring, allowing goals. They were going over some way or another on a regular basis. Well, that's changed in the last month, and this Philly team is now starting to take the identity of its coach, a coach that wants to play 2-1, 3-1, 3-2 type hockey games. And we have seen Philadelphia not go over 6 in 4 straight games and 6 of its last 8. So this is a team that's clearly heading in the direction of low-scoring games. As for Florida, this is a team that goes under more regularly than most people think. When you look at this Florida team and you know they're the Stanley Cup champs 2 times, they made it to the Stanley Cup championship in a row. And this is a team that has got Kachuk and Bennett and Barkov and whatnot. And you're like scoring. They are not an over team, guys. Although on the season right now, they're 21-20 and 2 to the over. That's only 1 game over. And as we get deeper into the season, more games are going to go under than over. So I look at this Florida team as an under team as well. And to give you perspective, they've gone under 4 of their last 5 and 6 of their last 8 as well. The total in this game is 6. I am betting it under. Take Florida and Philadelphia under the
Real quick, I got a plus 240 in soccer. It's a draw in Italy. Pisa, the Tower of Pisa, that thing that tilts, PISA, a bet against Catarese. You'll find it. It's the first game on the board. We bet the draw at plus 240. It's also at WagerTalk on my page. I'm putting a lot of those as free picks, so make sure you check that out every day. Some premiums on there for sure. Here's some college basketball for you. Regular board, 885, Boston College, plus 11.5, plus 11. Added board games, 306-527, Alabama A&M, plus 9, Alabama State, minus 3, and Houston Christian, plus 15.5. Slow day so far as we approach Monday night playoff football. That's where the excitement is. Go Rams.